All right, what's up, guys? Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. Today I'm going to be talking about sex without ejaculation and some other things as well. First of all, I want to mention that my 6-week course is open for registration. Registration closes tomorrow at 9 p.m. Mountain Time, and it's the last chance to get into the course. It's going to be amazing. You learn how to tap into your sexual energy, learn how to manifest more abundance in your life, and learn how to have full body orgasms without ejaculating. So check out the link to the 6-week course on Instagram. There's a link in my bio. On YouTube, there's a link in my latest videos. Okay, guys, so sex without ejaculation. This is the essence of sexual kung fu, is that, we're able to remain fully sexually active while practicing semen retention, never losing your semen, therefore getting all the benefits of retention, but also the benefits of sexual connection, of which there are many. So just going to go into this a little bit. So why would a man want to have sex without ejaculation? So what happens is when a man ejaculates, he has to go through a refractory period where he recovers because hormonal changes happen within the body. The body loses a lot of resources when it ejaculates, and there's certain hormonal changes that happens as well. Prolactin is secreted in the body, and this inhibits testosterone. So your testosterone drops, your prolactin rises, which is not really optimal for being a masculine man. So that's why a man feels weak, he feels apathetic, and he lacks energy and motivation after ejaculating, because these hormonal changes happen. Also, you lose a lot of resources. Semen is the essence of the body. It's the most refined bodily substance that the body creates. And when you're just constantly ejaculating it out, unless you're trying to make a kid, what's the point? You're just losing all this energy. So you can be fully sexually active without ejaculating and still experience orgasms. Men can have orgasms without ejaculating. So non-ejaculatory orgasms, you can have these over and over and over if you want. It's quite different from, when you ejaculate and you blow everything out. You have nothing left. You have to recover it for a while. And so it's kind of a no-brainer. Do you want non-ejaculatory orgasms, or do you want, fatiguing ejaculatory orgasms? And so many men in this world are sexually depleted. They're depleted on many areas because this constant release of sexual energy through ejaculation, it depletes you. It depletes your essence. It depletes your jing, as it's known in Chinese medicine. Jing is like our life force, our physical essence. And so men are sexually depleted because they're ejaculating constantly. And then they're in this state of low testosterone. Men are becoming more feminine in the world. So many more men are becoming lazy, apathetic, and they're easy to control, because they're just masturbating to porn every day. Their hormones are imbalanced. They don't have energy. They don't have the drive. They don't have the clarity to become great leaders in this world. So this is one of the benefits of practicing semen retention. And so one of the other benefits about being able to have sex without ejaculating is much better sexual control, better sexual performance. 40% of men, maybe probably more actually, experience premature ejaculation. This is a fairly common issue, which frustrates many men. Statistically, men ejaculate about 3 minutes after they've penetrated their partner during sex. 3 minutes is not very long. It's definitely not long enough to get into like these really high states of full body orgasm. And so when you do these practices, when you learn to have sex without ejaculating, because you control your ejaculation, you're in control of this function of your body. Therefore, you can last for hours in the bedroom, have much better sexual control, be able to please your partner much better, and you're going to be so much more confident. When you're confident in your sexual ability, you're going to become confident in everything else that you're doing as well. This really carries over into every aspect of your life. And another benefit of having sex without ejaculating is this release of youthful hormones that you get. It really promotes longevity. When you have sex, the body starts secreting all these hormones that keep you young. And, one of the causes of aging is the lack of sexual hormones produced in the brain, because you stop using your genitals, you stop having sex, and things just kind of dry up. And the body starts to say, okay, I'm out of my prime. I guess it's time to age and die now. So that's what happens when you neglect this. So, but also equally harmful is excessively ejaculating, because then you're just pulling out, you're uprooting yourself. You're pulling out your roots, pulling out your core vitality by constantly ejaculating. So that's another path to accelerated aging. And so the most harmonious path is that of, again, having sex without ejaculating, because you get all these hormones released, which is happening during sex. But typically when a man ejaculates, he loses all of that energy he's generated. It's gone. But when you retain it, so you have sex, you build up all this energy with your partner, you build up this huge sexual charge, and then you store it in the body. You hold on to that charge. This keeps you youthful. It keeps you energized, radiant. It feels amazing, guys. Like when you have a 3-hour, tantric sex session, and then you don't ejaculate, you hold on to that charge, you're practically levitating. It's incredible. If you've never experienced this, it's there, words can't describe it, just the energy that you feel. And so a lot of guys say, well, if I did that, I have blue balls, So a lot of men who practice semen retention do get blue balls, and it's because there's too much tension in the body. There's nowhere for the sexual energy to go. When you have all this tension and all this, you're practicing semen retention, but you're not moving the energy, just stuck in your balls, you're going to get blue balls. So it's a sign that your energy is stagnant, and it's actually quite simple to undo this. One of the main causes is too much tension. A lot of guys, most people teaching this stuff say you just squeeze your PC muscle like crazy. Just squeeze the pelvic floor muscle. That's all you need to do. But that doesn't work very well. Squeezing the pelvic floor excessively activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response, and leads to increased ejaculation, accelerated ejaculation. You'll notice that your penis becomes more sensitive when you're squeezing your pelvic floor, and most guys develop this involuntary response of tensing up their pelvic floor during sexual stimulation, which, pushes you over the edge quicker. And so, and this also causes blue balls because, again, it constricts all this energy in your genitals. So one of the keys is to be able to stay relaxed, and also being able to circulate this sexual energy out of your genitals, because as you're becoming aroused, all this energy is building up in your balls. And if you don't move it anywhere, it's just going to get stuck there. And yeah, you're going to get blue balls. But instead, when you're circulating this arousal upward, moving it through the body, moving it out of the genitals, then you don't experience blue balls. I have sex regularly without ejaculating, but I don't get blue balls because I know how to move that energy. So it's really a simple thing, but yeah, so it takes a bit of training, to have sex without ejaculation. And that's the whole point of my 6-week course, is to directly teach men how to do this. There can be a bit of a learning curve to this stuff, let's face it, because our sexual habits are the result of years of, our masturbation habits, and men looking at porn, getting all these ideas about what sex should be, and they get stuck in these rigid sexual patterns that, ends. It's like a 5-minute sex session that ends with you ejaculating. That's very limited. So the key here to developing skill in ejaculation control and full body orgasm is to open up the body, to hold a greater charge of sexual energy without ejaculating, without short circuiting, we could say. And the way I did this was through practicing Qigong, practicing meditation, breath work. And this is really the most important foundation, because you need to prepare the body and clear out all these old habits before you try to bring in new ones. So I found that to be a very effective system. And that's how I structured my 6-week course. Is first you learn the breath work, the meditation, the Qigong. It gets you high, it gets you very high naturally, using the breath, connecting with the natural life force. And then now your body's open and you're ready to change your sexual patterns so you can hold this greater charge of sexual energy without ejaculating. And this really makes it quite simple. When you do this foundational work, you can learn this in a matter of weeks. It's really quite simple. And so that was the biggest breakthrough of me that I had with all this work, is that, it doesn't have to take years to learn this stuff. You just have to do the foundations properly, which most people aren't stressing. So that's why I've structured my 6-week course the way it is, and there's so many benefits to doing this. When you really master your sexual energy, when you really get the stuff down, it amplifies everything in your life, because that's what sexual energy does. It's this expansive energy. It's this creative energy. You can bring whatever you want into your life. And this is the secret of so many successful people, so many creative masters, people like Nikola Tesla, even Steve Jobs had sex without ejaculating, Muhammad Ali, all these people, Isaac Newton, understood the power of their sexual energy. And so this is really the pathway to true success in life. And so there's some questions, and I'm going to answer them here in a minute. But so there's so many benefits to having sex without ejaculating and being able to have all these full body orgasms, and it's really powerful, and it keeps you young. And so so just throw it out there again. My 6-week course, registration closes in just over 24 hours. You have one more day to get in, and it's again, it's a complete guide to master your sexual energy, to clear out all these old patterns, all these old tensions, negative emotions that are sabotaging you, and learn to open up the channels of the body, the energy channels, learn to get high naturally using the breath, using universal life force, using Qigong, and learning to circulate sexual energy throughout your body, control ejaculation, have full body orgasms. This is what you're going to get from the course, and it's going to change your life. One of the guys in the last group we went through, he said he went from lasting 5 minutes during sex to lasting hours. And he manifested a girlfriend who he was like really stoked about. He said it was his dream girl, and that she told him he was like the most amazing man she'd ever been with. So this is what happens when you do the work, guys. This is one of my students that went through the course before. So that's closing in just over 24 hours. Check out a link to that in Instagram, the bio of my Instagram, and on my YouTube videos. So I'm gonna answer some questions now. So Amberlight asked if there's any courses for women. Yes, I do have a multi-orgasmic goddess course that I made with my partner. If you're interested in that, send me a message, and I will, we officially closed registration for that recently, but if you're really interested, we can get you in, or at least get you signed up for the next round. So I do have a course for women as well. How can you have sex without ejaculations? How can I hold it? Like I mentioned before, you need to open up the body. You need to create a pathway for the sexual energy to move upwards, circulate throughout the body instead of ejaculating it out. And I go into depth in this in my 6-week course. How often do you recommend sex? It depends how healthy you are, depends what kind of sex you're having. Either you're having like depleting sex, or it's sex that energizes you. If you're having sex that energizes you, where you're retaining your semen and having sex for hours, circulating sexual energy with your partner, then you really can't do that too much. But if you're, ejaculating during sex, if you're just like lustfully pounding away without any awareness energetically of what you're doing, then that's going to deplete you. So you wouldn't want to do that too often. Yes, I have read Multi-Orgasmic Man. That was kind of the book that got me into all of this, actually, but I didn't get very good results from that book. There's a lot of subtleties that you're not going to learn in that book to really mastering this stuff. And the approach of tension is, it doesn't work great. Like I mentioned before, that squeezing the pelvic floor excessively during sex actually pushes you over the edge because it activates the sympathetic nervous system. So what I'm finding now, and I'm teaching, is more relaxation-based approach. And that helps men last for hours in bed. Can you give us an exercise to last a bit longer so we can see what it's like? Yeah. So, well, I have get my ejaculation control guide, because I have free exercises in there. And so one of the keys to lasting longer is keep your pelvic floor relaxed. Keep it relaxed. You'll have to practice that. And, I go into more techniques in the course, how to like really do that when you're like having passionate, crazy sex, but keep your pelvic floor relaxed. See if that makes you last longer. So play with that and work with your breath. How much is the course? All the information is through the link, so you're on Instagram. Check out the link in my Instagram bio. You'll have all the information there. Yes, I'm saying that you can have an orgasm without ejaculating. That is not unhealthy at all. I've been doing this for years, and I have more energy now than I did when I was 18. Don't get tired at all. Does the experience of orgasm deplete energy, or is it just the ejaculation? It's just the ejaculatory orgasm. Again, there's different types of orgasms. There's the peak orgasm where it's a downward movement of energy. Your sexual energy moves out of you. When you have this pattern of lust, like it's this completely physical approach to sex, that leads to ejaculation. That leads to your energy leaving you, which is useful for reproduction. But if you're trying to cultivate longevity and spiritual awareness, then that's not going to serve you. It's the internal orgasm where you're bringing the energy upward, and that charges you up because this energy it's resonating through your body and you're not losing it. So that type of orgasm does not deplete you, it charges you up. How do I use my abundance of energy every day? Well, I'm growing a business. I'm working with men from all around the world, teaching them to tap into their sexual energy. I have a dedicated daily practice. I'm doing Qigong, breathwork, meditation for hours a day. And I like to spend time in nature as well. So that's how I spend my energy, and with my partner as well, in my relationship. So just answering questions, feel free to post any questions. Is it natural for people to not ejaculate during sex? Isn't the point of sex reproduction? It's debatable what the function of sex is. For example, in humans, why do we have a sex drive 24/7? None of the other animals are sexually active. They all have their mating season, but humans don't. And obviously we can't be creating babies all the time. So there's obviously a different function to sex than just reproduction. In my opinion, my experience, it's a spiritual drive. It's a drive to reconnect, to grow ourselves, to amplify. This is what sacred sexuality is all about, but we've forgotten what sexuality truly is. And it's been distorted into this purely physical, lust-driven thing for people just to try to release some tension. It's completely animalistic, when in reality, sex is this multidimensional, powerful experience that can completely transform you. So your question, is it natural for people to not ejaculate during sex? I think it is very natural. We've just been programmed to believe that sex should be this act of depleting our energy out of our body. So it's really like, look at where your conditioning is coming from, you know, how you learned about sex, all the repression around it, maybe religion, maybe society, porn, you know. And when you kind of if you can release all this conditioning, then you have a completely different understanding of what sexuality really is and what it means to be a sexual being. Will this give me wet dreams? There's many causes to wet dreams, but if you're doing the practices right, you know, you won't experience wet dreams, or at least minimally. Any difference of this? Okay, this is a good question. Any difference to any of this after getting a vasectomy? Men ask me this a lot. Yes, there's still a difference, because you'll notice when even a man who's had a vasectomy, when he has an ejaculatory orgasm, he loses some prostate fluid. He's not losing the sperm, but he's having this peak orgasm. Your energy is still leaving your body. You'll notice that you still feel the same fatigue after an ejaculation that a man who hasn't had a vasectomy has. So clearly there's more happening here than just a loss of fluids. It's the same change of hormones in the body, that prolactin release, testosterone drops, you feel tired and apathetic. So a man who's had a vasectomy benefits equally from doing this work. Would you consider being a Qigong master? I don't know what you mean by that. You know, master is a title that people like to throw around, and sometimes there's substance to it, sometimes not. So I have no desire of calling myself a master ever. You know, I'm eternally a student, and I'm skeptical of people who have a different approach to it. I don't need this since I'm single. I think being single is one of the most important times to learn this work, because I mean, it depends what you're doing, but a lot of guys are single. They're just watching porn, masturbating, ejaculating their energy. This is the time to cultivate yourself, to really get this stuff down, you know, in my opinion. Is there a difference between what you practice and Kareza? Good question. Kareza is a practice of basically a very meditative approach to sexual experience. It's not focused on getting to this point of orgasm or ejaculation. It's a very tantric practice, basically. So I do implement some Kareza type work into what I'm teaching. So I'm just answering questions right now. Have you noticed physical changes like bone structure? My shoulders have gotten wider in the 2 years I did semen retention. I mean, there's so many things I'm doing to change my physical structure. You know, I work out, I lift weights, I'm doing Tai Chi, Qigong, Xingyi, internal martial arts. So I'm doing a lot of different things. So it's difficult to say exactly what's coming from which. But yeah, the structure of my body has changed throughout the years, definitely. Do I look like Edward Norton? I don't know, do I? So it's possible to have sex for hours without ejaculating. Yes, it is. I've done this, you know, a lot. You can have sex for as long as you want when you understand how to control your ejaculation. Yes, I take cold showers every day. I almost exclusively take cold showers. I don't take warm showers very often. Have you ever seen the video of a Qigong master setting a paper on fire? If so, what do you think about it? Are you talking about John Cheng? I mean, I'm open. You know, I've seen some crazy shit. I will say that. And you know, some people are faking this stuff. Some people may not be. But just from my experiences of energy cultivation, you know, what I've experienced in my 6 years of doing Qigong, doing an internal alchemy, I've experienced some very powerful things. And so I'm open to the idea that someone can use their their internal energy to connect with the elements, and create fire. I think it's possible. Did these guys doing the videos, were they actually doing it? Were they faking it? I can't say, but I'm open to the idea that this stuff's possible. Well, it's hard for me not to masturbate or watch porn because I suffer from depression, anxiety, and stress. So this is the perfect time to do this work, because this is all related. Your sexuality, the dissatisfaction you're experiencing in life, feeling depression, anxiety, and stress. Something's blocked in you, clearly. Something's blocked in here. So this is the time to go in, look at these things, face these things. That's why I do qigong. Is it's a self-healing practice. You open up. There's these blockages in the body, where life force is not flowing, and then that causes us to experience pain, experience depression, anxiety, stress. These are blockages. So when you get the energy flowing, you clear these things out, and you reopen yourself to the life force. Then you feel good, you feel open, you feel happy, you feel clear, you feel balanced. So doing this work will be very beneficial to you. Any good recommendations for books or videos on Tantra before I get funds to take a course? Taoist Secrets of Love, Cultivating Male Sexual Energy by Montauk Chia is a great book. However, I will say that the exercises in that book are they're the tension-based exercises, which don't work for everyone, but the book will at least give you an understanding of the approach. Are you self-taught, or did you have help in person? Who should we reach out locally to do Qigong? I've studied with many teachers over the years, and I'm still studying with teachers. I have a few different Tai Chi, internal martial arts teachers. I have a Neidan teacher, which is in Taoist internal alchemy. So I'm always studying, I'm always learning more. There's always more to learn. But as far as learning this stuff, find a good teacher. It doesn't have to be in person. As far as, Qigong teachers, some are really great. Some have no idea what they're doing. So, you kind of have to use your own intuition. But I will recommend, if you want to really learn Qigong, get my Qigong mastery video, or take my 6-week course, because in that video, I share with you the secrets of how to really activate the energy flow in your body. And then any form that you're learning, you can put those mechanics into and unlock the form, because a lot of people are doing Qigong and they're just waving their arms around. There's too much tension in the body. You're not actually cultivating energy. You're just flapping your arms around. When you get the internal mechanics, which involves sinking the chi, they call it, relaxing into the earth, integrating the entire structure of your body, feet to hands, that's how you really get the juice flowing. And that's what unlocks Qigong and Tai Chi. Then it's like, it's very, very tangible. The energy, it feels like this flood of water moving through your body, or like electricity. So yeah, when you get like a real teacher and you get the real download of Qigong, it's unbelievable. It's powerful. Is it similar for women? Is what similar for women? Do you believe that the elite is taking advantage of porn and over-sexualizing society? Well, it's very obvious that someone has an agenda of controlling us sexually, because it's been happening for thousands of years, maybe. Religion, there's so much oppression around sexuality. If you want to control someone, then cut off their connection to sexuality. Then you literally have them by the balls. So I'll leave it at that. How long did it take me to last for hours? It took a few months of training, maybe several months of training. I was at this period in my life where I was single and I was just diving deep into this stuff by myself. So I would say it took me a few months of dedicated training. Where can I find more info, more about your Qigong courses? Check out my website, jonathanwhitelifestyle.com. And I also have a Qigong playlist on my YouTube channel, so you can learn some practices there as well. How difficult is Kundalini awakening? It depends. It happens many spontaneously, but understand that Kundalini awakening is not necessarily a positive thing for a lot of people. There's all this obsession about, Kundalini, I awaken my Kundalini. When you really have the Kundalini experience, it changes you. Like, you will not be the same. And it can be very painful. It can be physically painful. It can be emotionally painful. If you're not ready to have light cast on all the shadows in your life, it can be a hellish experience. So I don't recommend that you focus on awakening Kundalini. I recommend you have a balanced cultivation system, because then your energy is balanced, instead of this massive thrust upwards, opening your crown before you're ready. You're ungrounded, you're uprooted. It's not a pleasant experience, So that's my Kundalini thing. Was it painful when you first started? Yeah, I had a really unbalanced Kundalini awakening, several years ago. And that's what got me into Qigong. So it was okay, this is not working out. I'm having a hard time relating to reality. And doing the Taoist practices, because they emphasize the water element, grounding, being embodied. Kundalini is often like, no, I got to get out of my body, shoot my energy up. It depletes you, it depletes your physical body. So doing the Taoist practices, doing grounding, helped me to bring this energy back down and cool it down. Just balance it. So that's why I'm all about Qigong now, is because it's really, really balanced. You get this gentle Kundalini energy, but it rises up the back, comes down the front. It's contained, it's grounded, it's balanced. I recently developed mild depression and anxiety. Will no FAP help me to cure it? If you're in a pattern of constantly ejaculating, I think you'll definitely see some results in practicing semen retention. I also recommend you have like a daily practice, doing like breath work or Qigong. Those were very helpful for me. Does celibacy give you a similar feeling in your body as your practices minus the sex? It depends. Like if you're just being celibate, you're not having any sort of practice, it may not be the greatest thing. I highly recommend, if you're celibate or practicing semen retention, that you have some sort of practice, meditation, to move the energy, or else it's going to build up in your balls. All this sexual pressure is going to be generated. You'll either have wet dreams all the time, or you'll kind of give into these low sexual impulses every now and then when it really builds up. So you have to keep that sexual energy redirected, if you want to practice retention. Is marijuana harmful for this practice? Do you think it helps quit the habit? I'm not sure what habit you're talking about. Marijuana, it can be helpful and it can be harmful. It does have this effect of depleting your gene if you're using it excessively. So like, I do not recommend like smoking weed every day. I used to do it, like I thought I was really spiritual at the time, but looking back on it, I was just living in a fog. It depletes your gene, it depletes your kidney energy. So it's not really optimal for sexual cultivation. You can have it on occasion and be fine, but I don't recommend smoking weed regularly. How to achieve full body orgasm for men? Basically open up your body and learn to raise the sexual energy upward instead of outward. And I talked about that a lot earlier in this video. And I teach exactly how to do it in my course. It's not something I can tell you how to do in a minute or two, but basically open up the energy channels of the body and learn to redirect your arousal upward instead of outward. All right, guys, I'm gonna answer just a few more questions and I gotta jump off. Do you know anything about lingam breathing? I tried it, but it never works. I'm not sure exactly what that is. There's a lot of different practices that are called about the same thing, so I'm not sure what version of it that you learned. How did my Kundalini awakening? Was it because of my Qigong practice? Well, my first Kundalini experience was a result of taking psychedelic drugs. I ate some magic mushrooms and just my Kundalini blasted off, and it was powerful. It was amazing, but I tried to recreate it by taking more psychedelic substances, and it never worked again. I just had like terrifying experiences. Then I got into Kundalini yoga. I was doing like Kundalini yoga hours a day, just going deep into that. And my Kundalini was like going crazy during that time. I was like, felt like I was leaving my body. And I thought it was great at the time, but looking back, I was very ungrounded, very disconnected from reality. And so again, Qigong helped me to ground that energy and was much, much more sustainable for me. New Year's resolution is to practice Tai Chi and Qigong. Appreciate your work and videos. Hey, thanks, brother. It'll be a great decision for sure. I do Kundalini yoga and I feel so strange. Yeah, I felt pretty strange when I was doing Kundalini yoga. I mean, it's great, but it can be very unbalancing. It's all yang, it's all fire, it's all upward movement, and that can deplete you in the long run. It can burn you out. So you need to have that descending energy as well. Does one need to have a teacher for achieving full body orgasm, or books can help? Books can help, but it can be difficult to really learn this stuff from books. I do recommend if you really want to learn it, that you find a teacher. What videos do you recommend I check out for breathwork? I have a whole playlist on breathwork. practices on my YouTube, so check that out. Got some of my favorites on there. Something about dieting. What are your thoughts on low carb diet? I'm actually doing a low carb diet myself. I don't eat a lot of carbs, though I may be changing that because I've been having a bit of gallbladder issues. Not like anything crazy, just like my gallbladder energy's been in the meridian's been a bit off, and one of my a woman who's basically a Reiki healer, very intuitive, medical intuitive, but basically my gallbladder meridian has been a bit blocked because I was eating too many fats. So I'm lightening up on all the different fats I'm eating and may experiment with a bit more carbs. But I was doing, low fat, high carb for years, intermittent fasting as well. So diet is so easy to like get into like a religion. Like, okay, there's this one thing that everyone in the world has to do, or else they're wrong. And our bodies are so different, so unique. Our genes are different, so it's about finding what works for you. Obsessing about diet is not always a good thing. I mean, obviously, you should avoid like GMOs, pesticides, eat organic, eat fresh, humanely raised produce and products, whatever. So that's the thing on diet. I went vegan, and I think it lowered my sex drive. Is food related to sexual energy? That was my experience as well. I went vegan for 6 months, and I've never had such a low sex drive in my life. So yes, food is definitely related to sexual energy. You need gene building foods if you want sexual energy. Things with zinc, red meat builds gene, but you don't want to eat too much of it. And if you're eating animal products, you should only eat like free range, humanely raised animal products, because the shit that's raised in factories is absolutely horrible. Semen retention benefits, tons of benefits to semen retention. I have a whole YouTube playlist on semen retention, so check that out. But yeah, there's lots of benefits to semen retention. What are my thoughts on garlic and ginger? I eat ginger all day. Like I'll take a fresh ginger and just like eat it, because ginger is amazing. It's so good for your digestion. It opens all the 12 meridians of the body. Ginger is amazing. Garlic can have a very yang effect. So, but I like to have some garlic personally. Can you go many rounds without ejaculation? How do you know you had enough? Yes, when you get good at this stuff, you can go as long. You can go for months without ejaculating if you want, having all the sex that you want. Okay, 1 or 2 more questions, then I gotta go, guys. After several days of semen retention, I get strong sexual desires, and it distracts me from everyday life. How do I manage these sexual desires and thoughts that keep me distracted? You need to practice. You need meditation. Again, this is the whole thing with retention, is you need to be able to redirect that energy, or else it just builds up and it starts to control you because you're not doing anything with it. So keep yourself busy with productive things. Study, learn new things, learn things that excite you, go to the gym, work out, exercise. Most importantly, meditate. Keep that energy moving within your body. Top 5 foods to increase testosterone: goji berries, pumpkin seeds, oysters, but what comes out of the ocean these days can be questionable. Maca, tonkat ali, I mean that's an herb. Maybe you can consider it a food. Those will all boost your testosterone. Is the course 1 week at a time, and is it weekly Q&A? Yes. You can go through it at your own speed if you want, because you'll have lifetime access to the videos, but it's structured to be, you go through it 1 week at a time for 6 weeks, and there's a question and answer session every week. Okay, guys, I gotta go. Thank you for joining me. And once again, I'm closing registration to my 6-week course tomorrow, just over 24 hours. So last chance to get in. Find more information about that, the link in my Instagram bio and in some of my recent YouTube videos. All right, guys, take it easy.